Domestic violence funding and casino income topics discussed today by the county's top brass. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Patricia Ballone. Thank you for joining us. Well, County Executive Rushern Baker has released his proposed 2017 budget. It contains projected income from the soon-to-be opened MGM Casino. Also, domestic violence advocates are applauding the additional funding for that cause. Our Denise Douglas is standing by with the details. Okay, it looks like we'll try and get Denise back on the line later in the newscast. Meantime, Governor Larry Hogan submits a third supplemental budget for fiscal year 2017. Some of the highlights include an additional $13.8 million toward K through 12 education. $46.2 million is slated for new construction at 5 University System of Maryland institutions, and $3 million would go toward heroin addiction prevention and treatment programs. The Hogan administration says these additions to the budget are a result of improvements in Maryland's economy over the past several months. Well, when it comes to state revenue, the number is down according to the board that calculates the figure. The sales tax has dropped from $66 million for fiscal year 2016 to $60.6 million for fiscal year 2017. In a statement, Comptroller Peter Franchot says that the numbers show that consumers are continuing to rein in discretionary spending. But despite the sluggish economy, employment in Maryland is increasing, according to the state treasurer. Well, a change in state law makes thousands of Marylanders newly eligible to vote just in time for this year's election. More than half of those potential new voters live in Baltimore City. Rochelle Metzger is there with more on the story.
If you're out of prison, you can now cast a ballot in Maryland. A new state law takes effect today, and some recently released felons gathered outside the Baltimore City Board of Elections to register to vote, some for the first time.
We want to vote! We want to vote!
Outside the Baltimore City Board of Elections, cheers and chants.
We want to vote!
Many gathered here are potential new voters who have gained the right to cast a ballot under a state law that takes effect today, extending voting rights to felons like Kim Haven, who are still on parole or probation.
I kind of want to cry now when I signed it because it is monumental.
No more excuses!
Perry Hopkins has a long criminal record, but has come out the other side. Now a community activist who led the campaign to restore the franchise to felons unable to vote because of past criminal convictions.
I finally get a chance to take part in history, not only here in Maryland, but I get a chance to vote for the president for the first time in my life.
The effort was nearly derailed after legislation passed last spring was vetoed by Governor Larry Hogan. Hogan argued that people should finish their sentences before regaining all of their rights. The General Assembly overturned the veto last month.
At this point in my life, all I want to do is be a part of the community.
60-year-old NILES RINGGOLD is one of the more than 40,000 Marylanders recently released from prison and now eligible to vote. After spending 40 years behind bars for murder, he has never cast a ballot. Today he registers for the first time.
I have an opportunity to vote, to be heard, also to make a difference in how things as far as politics are being run in Baltimore City.
A similar voter registration event is being organized in Prince George's, though a date has not been set. County NAACP officials say it'll take place in the next 2 weeks. From Baltimore City, Rochelle Metzger, CTV News.
And the voter registration deadline is April 5th. Maryland's primary election is April 26th. We return now to our top story. We have our reporter Denise Douglas on the line. She has more about the county executive's 2017 fiscal year budget proposal. Denise?
Hi there, Patty. It was kind of interesting when Mr. Baker came out. He talked a bit and said, let me tell you about the cuts. Then with a little bit of a sense of humor said, not this year. This budget, he pointed out, is much different from past years when he's had to cut and slash. In fact, revenues will be up by 5.7%. That growth is primarily driven by more income tax, property tax receipts, as well as expected revenue gains from the MGM Casino project that we've all seen being built there at the National Harbor. Mr. Baker says his budget proposal is all about investing in the community, from education to public safety to health care. In fact, let me let you hear some of the specifics.
This year, we experienced the smallest budget deficit that I have faced since I have been county executive. I have been waiting 5 years for this to happen. The operating funds for the county are $3.7 billion. This is an increase of $161 million, or 4.5% over FY 2016. The county's revenues increased by $97 million, or 5.7%. This growth is primarily driven by the anticipated increases in both the income tax receipts and the property transaction tax receipts, as well as the expected revenue gains we will see from the mid-year opening of the MGM National Harbor.
That's right. And Patty, you know about the funding in the proposed budget for domestic violence. It will be $1 million that will go towards prevention, awareness, and resources through the Department of Family Services and Department of Social Services. That funding is especially significant with the domestic violence-related homicides that we've seen this week and this year. There have been 8 attributed to domestic violence since January. I'm Denise Douglas. I'm going to toss it right back to you in the studio, Patty.
All right, Denise, thank you. And you are right, there is some much-needed funding for domestic violence here in the county. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.